Network Entertainment.
When you know who you are and what you represent, you are able to look at citizenship and being Filipino in a certain way.
Right.
Imagine, are you going to, like as women, for example, are we going to waste our votes when so many women who lived before us had to fight for it?
Yes,
Diba?
exactly.
So it puts our lives in a context of so many people sacrificed so that
Right.
we can have this. We
Right.
shouldn't waste it. That's how I see it.
Right.
Now, even in our families, right? I used to not think of how my family lived during the war.
Okay.
But when I looked for it, parang, ay, kawawa naman sila.
Oh, wow.
Kaya pala matipid si Lola. Kaya pala si
okay.
Mama. Parang,
Explains a lot of things.
yes, it makes you understand the context of their lives. Na kaya, that's why they are who they are.
Hi, this is Mirza Season. Welcome to You Can Do This, a podcast that'll help you achieve your dreams and goals one episode at a time. What are you waiting for? Let's go! Who are you really without all the labels, expectations, and timelines? To truly understand ourselves, we need to look back. In a country where many of us grow up knowing little about our family or national history, discovering where we come from can help us feel more grounded, confident, and proud of who we are. And in this age of misinformation and historical distortion, learning how to tell the truth from propaganda has never been more important. Today, I'm joined by genealogist. Did I pronounce that correctly? Yeah. And historian known on TikTok as the viral edu-creator Mighty Magulang, who makes Philippine history accessible, simple, fun, and easy to understand. A former corporate executive who now dedicates her time to helping us Filipinos explore our roots, understand their identity, and reconnect with the powerful stories that define us. The only Filipino member of TikTok's Safety Advisory Council for Asia Pacific, she was also the national president of the Autism Society Philippines for 10 years and is now their national spokesperson and country manager for their Autism Works program. Please welcome your Ninuno Hunter, Mighty Magulang,
Thank you so much for having
Mona
me.
Magno Veluz.
Thank you. Yes, that's my name.
Hope I got everything correctly.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. So, how does one become a
Genealogist.
Okay, genealogist.
Ninuno Hunter na lang.
Oh, sige.
Right?
How does one become a Ninuno Hunter?
Well, first off, a lot of people think that you need to study a certain way or
You
study a
don't?
certain course.
Oh.
I was a business major. My
Right.
master's is in applied business economics. So, no, that is not a history degree is not a preface to being a genealogist.
Okay.
It is so accessible.
Right.
Genealogy essentially is studying your roots or
Okay.
creating family trees,
Right.
studying your family history, all of that. And that is all accessible to us.
Oh, okay.
I began to do it professionally after a few years of doing it for my family.
Okay.
And I realized that, well, first off, I had good foundations. I was a good researcher.
Okay.
And I had this, I don't know what you call it, X factor, that I find what I need to look for. Kasi I know how to search. I know the repositories to look at by instinct. So there's a little bit of that. But eventually, all of the skills I know, I started out lang talaga with that interest in finding the truth about certain families, my family to begin with. And eventually, there are courses, of course, that you need to take to get certified as a genealogist for certain locations, especially in the US. But everything else, I kind of learned because I immersed myself in genealogy.
Was there something you were trying to discover about your family or your roots that
No.
drove you?
You know what? I started because I wanted a really awesome family Christmas gift.
Oh.
So my husband and his family, they were really close. They like knew where they came from. They talked about it in family reunions. Compared to me, na both my parents or their families went to Manila during the war and kind of left a lot of that behind. So we never grew up around family. But my husband's family really were into it. So I created a little book that had the love stories of the titos
Oh,
and titas,
wow.
and then their descendants, and then before that there's a little the ancestry of everyone, and then there was a directory of this is back when everything wasn't digital, so there was a directory of emails and phone numbers at the end. So it was a Christmas gift that started everything.
Pre-digital? Where do you even
Yes.
look?
Okay. So there is this library in White Plains where they
Oh,
had microfilm. Back
okay.
then, you have to request for certain microfilm reels, and then you do that because it was
Okay.
you have to crank it up
Anong
in a
library
microfilm.
to?
This is the Family History Center of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day
Oh,
Saints.
okay.
So that is part of their religion. Like knowing your roots is a
Okay.
critical part of the ordinances. No, it's not the right
But
word. The
you
sacraments.
have to go to that church, or
No, it's
they have
open to the public.
everybody's records?
Correct. So now they've digitized all of the records which I used to manually check, and
Okay.
it's now on familysearch.org.
Oh,
So
okay.
familysearch.org is funded and operated by that church, but you don't have to be a member of the church to use it.
So anyone can access it.
Yes, anyone can access
Okay.
it. You just really need to know how to search the right way. Like,
Right.
you know how in IT there's like a boolean search, so you have to know how to put all of that in the search in their search engine. And yeah, you can explore. There are books also on
Right.
genealogy that you can look at. So not just that site, but also there are a lot of digital resources that we can use for research. Of course, nothing beats field work, like going out and going to the cemeteries
Oh
to
my
look at the
gosh, you've done
yes.
that.
Oh,
Oh
I've
my
done that.
gosh.
I've looked at the lapidas,
Oh my
and then there's a
gosh.
lot of serendipitous finds I kind of came across because I went to a cemetery.
Oh my gosh. Such us.
Yeah, I'll tell the story. I had a friend who asked me to do her family tree. I did it. She had uh, an American soldier in her family tree. So yeah, done. Goodbye. Then 2 months later, I was with another person in Cementerio del Norte, and we went. Let's go to the Jewish cemetery. We were just osyoso. We went there. And ay sorry, locked, hindi kami pwede pumasok. Okay, I turn around and her lolo was there. Like, what? What? And then
It's a
the lolo
Jewish
was there.
cemetery.
No, it was outside the Jewish
Okay.
cemetery. The lolo was there. The lola was there. She didn't even know the name of her lola, but it was in the lapida. Okay, she only knew her lola Barang.
Okay.
So okay, it's Alvara. Her name was Alvara, and they're
Ah,
buried together. So I called her immediately, and she was so excited. She got everything fixed because it was messed up na it was broken. And it's one of those things na parang they wanted me to find them so that their family could find them. Parang
amazing
ganon.
detective skills.
And also, yun nga, serendipitous. It's
Right.
nagkataon I was there.
And tell us how your mighty magulang on TikTok exploded.
It wasn't, again, a planned thing.
Right.
It was the pandemic. I was
Right.
bored. I already did the coffee. I already did the plants. I already did the bread. Everything that the stereotypical bored
Right.
mom had to do during the pandemic, I did it already. And because I am a techie at heart, my whole corporate career was in
Galing.
technology companies. I said,
Okay.
I want to learn TikTok. Kasi I don't understand it. My kids got me on it, but I don't, what is an FYP? Why am I getting videos that I did not subscribe to? So I went for it, and they told me kasi the only way you can understand it is if you create content. So
Okay.
sige, create content. I work with the Autism Society Philippines, but because I am not on the spectrum, I felt that was not my story to tell.
Okay.
So I said, okay, history. Kasi marami na rin akong materials. I've researched. I
Okay.
had 20 years of research. So that's what I did. And at first, talagang hindi pa ako nagsisipilyo. I took videos like from my bed. There was no lighting. Eventually, I started walking up to the window, but it was still a phone in my hand na and everything was just stock knowledge. Eventually, I said, when the views started coming in, I said, oh, I have to do this right. I have to make sure that my sources are clear. I have to start documenting all of this in case people ask after. All of that.
Did
So,
it come naturally to you? Like, hindi ka na-conscious? Because some, di ba,
yeah.
nahihiya or what will
Hindi.
people say? I love it. Galing. And then what was the turning point? Like, when did it really fly? Is there a particular post?
Yeah. And it was on martial law, the martial law economics.
Right.
I thought it was going to be it's numbers. It's
Right.
something that was recorded in
Right,
history.
right, right.
But because of the partisan, I guess, environment, it became viral. There was a lot of love. There was a lot of hate.
Okay.
So,
This was during the election.
yes.
Okay.
This is 2021, right before
Right,
elections.
right.
So that was when I started having my views.
Right. And now that you have like approaching 1 million na, no?
Getting there on
Followers, right.
TikTok.
Right.
If you combine everything, it's like
It's 1 million already.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be such a powerful voice and force in
Charot.
charot. Hindi yun charot, totoo yan.
You know what?
In opening the minds of parang we're a history starved society now. And now in this day and age of fakery, especially AI fakery, it's really terrifying.
I am happy that I am able to parang meet a gap. I think the young people, especially those who don't have history in their schools, because it was removed
Why
apparently.
is that happening?
Long after we left it, there's no history in it. So
my
they didn't know that. They did not study that. And I felt when I realized that, that must be my role in
Ikaw
life.
na ang history teacher ng bansa.
So it's not, and there's a challenge to it because you have to tell the stories in less than 3 minutes.
Oo nga.
You have to condense a lifetime in 3 minutes.
Right.
And I shun the idea of being an influencer. Like, I don't like that term. I don't
Right.
like that power.
Right.
I think I'm just there to create content that's relevant. And if I am no
And
longer,
factual.
yes,
Right.
of course. If that's no longer relevant, then we move on to something else. I'm also very cognizant of digital citizenship.
Right.
That we have to consume the content that we want to elevate to more people. We also have to be kind when we do comments. So I advocate for all of that. Kasi I think for many years we were going down the wrong direction. I don't know if it's because I just block, delete, and report a lot of these offenders, but I feel that the ecosystem that I am experiencing right now is a little better.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Right. So, why should Pinoys care about history ngayong tinanggal na pala sa educational system?
It's back though. Very recently, and I was just told.
The correct history
Well,
or revised
it,
history?
It was told to me by a group called High School Philippine History Movement. And they've been advocating with the Department of Education to put back history on in the curriculum. And what they told me was history has to be not updated, but the presentation of it has to be made more relevant to people who are more modern and more global.
Right.
So I think
I'm sure required watching ka.
well, what's going to happen? I think they're going to present history. They're going to present ASEAN history, not just ours, in the context of the Philippines. So Filipino eyes looking out into the world, which also is a good thing.
Right.
The history naman, the Filipino history, I think that is something that you won't be able to learn everything in school, right? You just have to know the basics. And as long as they cover the basics, we should be good.
Right.
But it does, there's extra points to knowing about the special people and the special events that makes the Philippines more interesting.
Right.
What's up, Kingdom fam? Yuki and Ingrid here from the Kingdom Podcast. Are you someone who has fully integrated K-pop into your life? Or keep up with the latest K-pop comebacks, news, and scandals?
Do you also dream about getting married to your bias and having their babies in the future? Well, you're in the right. What? I'm just being honest.
Look, you know what? Let's just get back to it. At the Kingdom Podcast, we dive into the latest comebacks, dissect the music videos, and do deep dives on controversies.
Not only do we make things informative, but we also keep it fun. It'll be just like listening to a group of friends who love K-pop as much as you.
You won't find another podcast that's as fun and unfiltered as ours.
So, if you're ready for some K-pop chaos, grab your nightsticks and tune in.
Check out the Kingdom Podcast.
Stream it on all your favorite podcast platforms. Stay awesome, Kingdom fam! I thought that was pretty good. What do you think?
Marrying your bias and having their babies? Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So, how does knowing our personal history and our national history help us become better people?
That's such a deep question, di ba? Pero yun nga, pagkakasarinlan, when you know who you are and what you represent, you are able to look at citizenship and being Filipino in a certain way.
Right.
Imagine, are you going to, like as women, for example, are we going to waste our votes when so many women who lived before us had to fight for it?
Yes,
Diba? So it puts our lives in a context of so many people sacrificed so that
Right.
we can have this. We
Right.
shouldn't waste it. That's how I see it.
Right.
Now, even in our families, right? I used to not think of how my family lived during the war.
Okay.
But when I looked for it, parang, ay, kawawa naman sila.
Oh, wow.
Kaya pala matipid si Lola. Kaya pala si
okay.
Mama. Parang,
Explains a lot of things.
yes, it makes you understand the context of their lives. Na kaya, that's why they are who they are.
Right.
And siguro nga for us, our children will look at us in
Right.
those terms
Right.
also. Okay, mommy is a martial law baby, so
Right.
she is how she is because this, and this.
Kaya siya nag-hoard ng plastic container from takeout
Guilty.
or namamakiyaw ng PX goods.
Kids don't know that term anymore.
Oh, yeah, right. So, what do you think people miss out on when they have no idea about their history or background?
Yun nga it's compassion, I think.
Ah.
One of the things that I see a lot online is they're judgmental. Oh, this guy is bad kasi he did
Right,
this, he did
right.
that. But if they don't deep dive, if they don't put themselves in that time period, in that time frame, in that person's shoes,
Right.
talagang they're going to come out so arrogant and so judgmental. But if we understand history a little bit more, know what's going on around them, then you're going to be kinder.
Right.
And I think that's my life's parang journey and objective kasi I'm by default I'm maldita. I am. I go to
Okay.
dark places. But I have to really think about
How has
that.
knowing history changed your pagkamaldita?
Actually, it came after kasi I had a child on the spectrum.
Oh, okay.
But having a
Okay.
child on the spectrum
Right.
really
Right.
changed that
Right.
the level of that for me.
Right. Maybe it's also why grabe yung mga tao kung makapag-bash.
Diba?
It's because they don't really stop and look about ano yung background niya. Diba?
Oo, it's again putting it's almost if there are there's so many sayings about that. And if you think about it, yung mga tao who read and have a good vocabulary, napakadaling mang insulto. Sa totoo lang, I can pull out so many colorful ways to
Right.
insult you and hit you where it hurts. Pero hindi Kasi when you think about it and when you think about their situation, even when they're attacking you, and these are people who attack me, for example, on social media, I feel they must also be victims of something.
Yeah.
Diba?
Oo.
So ganon.
Right.
In our fight for truth, we have to understand that a lot of our countrymen are also victims of these untruths.
Right. What are the craziest or funniest historical untruths. Nakita ko yung was Jose Rizal Jack the Ripper.
Yes.
Parang may narinig pa ako nun na anak siya ni Hitler.
Yes.
Ano pa? Ano yung mga...
Like Elpidio Quirino had a golden arinola. So those are things that are, I don't know, people make up.
Right.
Even our president, somebody
Right.
would tell me that that our president is not the original.
Yes, I heard it
Bongbong.
growing
Yeah,
up.
Yeah. So there's all of that. The parentage of certain
Right.
people. They say na, oh, they're actually the anak sa labas of this or whatever.
Oo.
No, they're not. Na you can't prove it,
Right.
diba? Also, the whole Antonio Luna, Isidra Cojuangco. There's just so much. And again, I'm only a backup dancer to guys like Ambeth Ocampo and Xiao Chua, who are genuinely academics and historians.
Right.
And they also, when I speak to them, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of collaboration in in that community na they won't go out and tell you, okay, mali yan, ito tama. No, they're actually quite compassionate is not the right word, but they have fun with history.
Okay.
They know that there are a lot of misconceptions and things that we need to correct. We need to fight for the right history, and there are many cases also that the history we've been studying is wrong in the first place. So we have to change it to reflect what is based on evidence. And bottom line, the whole research thing that I'm doing, the genealogies, really search for evidence
Right.
to say that this actually happened. This is
Right.
your family. There has to be evidence
What are
behind it.
some aspects of history that are wrong that are being taught? Ano ba ito?
Very-
Gregorio Zaide textbook.
Well, that's a little bit. So, for example, very recently, this week we celebrated the anniversary of the Battle of Bangkusay.
Okay.
The Battle of Bangkusay is this pivotal thing which resulted in Manila, Tondo, those cities or kingdoms around Manila Bay to say, hey, Spain, come on in. It was because of the Battle of Bangkusay. So for many years, people thought that the bossing of that, the chieftain of the Filipinos was Raha Sulaiman. But it wasn't.
But no.
NHCP made the correction. So,
okay.
yun, I had to kind of point that out
Right.
to people.
What about
Very
I read that the yo-yo was not actually a Filipino weapon of war.
I have not looked at that only because it didn't make Hagip genealogy. I don't know everything about history.
Okay. Or minsan may mga claim to fame like a Filipino invented the fluorescent light, mga ganyan.
The guy in Osaka,
Right.
the runner, the runner on the billboard.
Right,
People
right.
are saying that's Filipino. When you look at the evidence, it is he was one of the many people considered in that design.
Right.
But it wasn't just him. So maraming mga tweaks na kailangan tayong
Right.
i-clarify. And again, everything based on history. We have to look for proof
Right.
of what we say.
Can you give us some tips about how to get into the habit of being more discerning and being more evidence-based and really like caring to seek the truth?
And that's something that the kids now, I think, have a little bit more training in. It's the adults, it's the oldies that have trouble.
Right.
Like a website, when you read something on a website, just because it's on a website, it doesn't mean it's
Right.
true, right? So you have to be selective on what you consume.
Right.
The sources, they have to be the right kind of sources,
Right.
vetted, respected. Like a random blog will just not fly.
Right.
Also, I look at being kind on social media as a way to also attract the right kind of energy because of algorithm.
Right.
So if you come in with hate, if you come in say reposting people that you don't like and kind of hashtagging all of the negative things, then your FYP or your timeline will also reflect that because
okay.
the platform is only echoing what you put out there.
Right.
So also what you consume. Even if you don't create content, if you consume and consume all of this hate, then yeah, okay, hate.
Pabalik.
Yeah, that's all you want. So we'll give that to you.
Right. So in your view, if you say, kasi my question was, how do we raise a generation of critical thinking Filipinos who don't just accept the status quo? And then now you tell me it's the older ones pala.
It is. I think if anything, for example, the last election showed us that the surveys, for example, are not and I'm thinking kasi the surveys are talking to older people
Yeah.
and we don't realize that there are now more young people than there are old.
Right. 60%.
Correct. So they carry a lot more weight.
Right.
Millennials, Gen Z, and in the next election, I think
Right.
the Gen Alpha is coming in, right? So it's really us, the older people, the Gen X.
Sayo.
I think we have to look at our habits online because they
Right.
reflect also what we want, what we are telling the platform na these are content that we want to consume.
Right. Meron pa bang Snopes?
Ano yun?
Snopes.com for fake news detector. Or do you use other tools?
Well, I support CheckPH,
CheckPH.
Verifiles.
Okay.
Though especially for local news.
Right,
That's
right.
that's who I refer
So I
to.
guess wag masyadong atat mag-repost.
Yes.
I-fact
True.
check muna.
Maghunos dili.
Maghunos
If you're
dili.
angry, don't post anything. Stay offline when you're angry about something, and especially politics, diba?
What are some historical lessons or values every Filipino can carry with them to live a more empowered life?
I do feel that a lot of our older heroes, the heroes of the previous generations, and even our leaders,
Such
There-
as?
there are so many that we can emulate. I actually prefer the lesser known ones. For
tell.
example, Basilio Valdez. He was he was the commander in chief. No, not commander in chief, but the head of the armed forces during the time of Quezon during World War II. But he was also a doctor.
Okay.
So before that, he volunteered in Red Cross in Europe for World War One, and he was cute. He was handsome. Then he served the country after, like during the war. It's weird. You are a doctor and then you are head of the armed forces. So parang there's that fight sa kanya
Right.
na I have to save as many people
And
as
not
I
kill.
can. Yes. I have to save as many people as I can. And after the war, he became the head of the Department of Health.
Right.
That he dealt with all of the war-related health issues. So, and after he served, he went back into like private practice. He was, I think, a leader, for example, na he was there to serve.
Right.
Not just the Philippines, parang the world, global ano siya.
Basilio Valdez.
Yes.
No relation to
No relation to
Okay.
the singer, but those are.
I wonder
those are
why
some
he's lesser
personality.
known.
Exactly. There
Is it
are-
the people who do the choosing based on the values that they want to promote?
and siguro impact to
Guwapo
the
pa, di ba?
I know. I don't know why he's not more well known. Pero I think it's all about also the agenda of who were in power back then. So
right.
it's really up to us to look for these personalities. And that has been my mission. Look for the not so well known
Right.
people so that we can learn from them and emulate them. Tsaka, the older generations also, they like to study, they respected experience, they built expertise by going abroad, studying, coming back.
Right.
Those are things we need to kind of
Right.
bring back.
Right.
I think it's not enough to be able to dance. It's not enough to be popular, like have a platform. Diba? It's not those
Oo
that's not
naman.
enough. If you want to serve, if you want to have higher office, then there has to be preparation to that. Hindi pwedeng ganda lang ang baon mo.
Hindi
Diba?
pwedeng fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So finally, how can knowing our history help us say you can do this more often and empower us in our lives?
Siguro the thing about history that empowers me is that it gives me hope. History, the Philippine history, kahit yun lang ang tingnan natin, we have seen so many bad things happen to our country, happen to our people. But somehow, our nation continues to fight. It's on us to be able to fight for all of these things. Hope is not passive. Hope is not praying for things to come. But hope gives us that oomph so that we can fight for what is right. And that's what I hope studying history will do for everyone.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was so powerful.
Thank you for having me.
How can our listeners find out more about your work, what you do, and
So, my name is Mona. Aside from being on social media at Mighty Magulang, sa totoong buhay po, I work with the Autism Society Philippines. So check out Autism Phils on all of the social media platforms because we do great work there. And ayun, advocacy, disability advocacy and history. If that's your thing, you can look me up.
thank you so much, Mona. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for making history on You Can Do This.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for listening to You Can Do This. If you want to know more about me, visit mirza.com. That's MYRZA.com. And follow me at Mirza Season on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate it 5 stars. Hit the follow button on your podcast streaming platforms and hit the notification bell to get alerted every time we release a new episode. Catch you at our next convo, and always remember, you can do this.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.